Being well-rounded is the idea that someone is comfortable in a number of scenarios or subjects, allowing them to perform a number of tasks at a proficient level. Hey, I'm Kimai Clark. In today's episode of Teach Me, we'll take a look at the amazing creativity and imagination of three talented individuals as they give us insight into their field of study. First, we'll sit down with the master of pencil and paper. Then we'll find out what it's like to introduce students to the art of stage acting. And finally, I'll introduce you to an expert of the voice. All this and more on today's episode of Teach Me. To become a great artist and create some great illustrations, you have to be dedicated and understand perfection is near impossible. With me now is Lancaster High School's art teacher, Ms. Lane Wallace. Welcome to the show. What is the best advice for someone who is struggling with their program and learning how to draw?
That is the biggest part, is you have to do and don't just draw things you're comfortable with. Try new things, challenge yourself, watch tutorials, talk to other artists, look at what they're doing, see how they're doing it, model, but practice. You cannot dabble and get better. You have to keep practicing.
What's the toughest challenge you've had to overcome with teaching art?
Overcoming a negative mindset in my students, getting someone who is dead set in not wanting to do to try. I'm not 100% successful with that every day, but I feel like if I expose them to enough different media, the materials, different techniques, different styles, I'll eventually find one that actually piques their interest. So just keep trying.
How do you react when you receive a negative review or comment in your work?
I don't take it personally. I try to take it in stride and figure out where I can learn and change and adapt and grow from the negatives.
What inspires you in your art?
In my art, I'm not sure. I have so many, I make jewelry, I watercolor paint, I decoupage. So it really is whatever has struck my fancy at that point in time, or something that's interested me. Because if I see it as a challenge, something I haven't done before, I'm like, ooh, I need to try that. And usually I do pretty well with it.
What is the best piece of advice you'd give to others who are thinking about exploring a career in art?
Talk to people that are in the field that you're looking into, because there's so many different parts of art that you could do as a career. You could become, like a designer for like video games, or you could get into advertising, or you could become a comic book artist, or you could become an illustrator. So research, practice, draw, again, challenge yourself, practice with different media, try digital. Everything's going digital. So try digital and just keep exploring, and know that you're going to have to do work in art that isn't something you're passionate about, especially if it's your career, because sometimes you're going to be asked to do work that you don't want to, or it's not what absolutely tickles you, but you're going to have to do it anyway.
What was it like the first time you saw your teaching come to fruition?
It lights up your day and makes a rough week worth showing up and doing. Those moments are those bright spots are what each of us teach towards. That's what we look forward to, or at least that's what my mom and I have shared. Whenever I have those kinds of conversations, I immediately call my mom and share the bright spot with her, because it's when you have rough days, you have rough days. When you have those highlights, they are almost like you want to pop it into a picture frame and keep it.
Are there any activities, clubs, or classes that someone should take part in to give them help towards a career in art?
Activities, you should always practice your work. Clubs, there are art clubs. Joining drama to help with set design can also be really fun and helpful. It opens your mind to different ways that your art can be applied in different fields. And joining different like Facebook groups or Instagram and social media, looking and seeing what other artists, especially local artists, are doing and making and sharing. And there's art classes you can take outside of school, like the paint and pours that they do at local studios. There's so that you have something you can try over the summers as well.
Thank you for being on the show. It was a pleasure to learn more about art. When we return, we'll clear our throats and get to singing. Houston was an amazing singer. Could listen to her music every minute of the day. Well, maybe not every minute. Anywho, who wouldn't want to know what it was like to sing like her? Here with me now is Lancaster High School's chorus teacher, Troy Dunbar. Welcome to the show. What was your earliest memory involving music?
My earliest memory that I can call is a memory that my mother told me that when I was 2 years old, I was pretty much singing the theme song from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the I'm Wishing song. And I can kind of recall myself actually singing that at 2 years old.
How old were you when you realized you wanted to do something with music for a career?
I kind of always have known that I wanted to do something with music. I just didn't know really when until probably high school, the end of my probably my junior year. But I really started getting into the whole vein of things in my freshman year of college after my piano professor told me that I had to practice 5 hours a day on the piano. I'm like, nope, that's not going to happen. So, is there another path I can take? Because I do like to sing, so you can go into vocal music. So, that's what I went into, and I loved every minute of it.
What skills did you learn at a young age that helped you in singing and teaching?
Well, considering I've always been singing, singing always came naturally to me. So I think that in itself was a skill. But going through choral programs, pretty much from elementary school all the way up through college, truly is what helped me to become a better musician. I never really had any vocal training up until college. So I would always, just sing random stuff, whatever was the flavor of the day, I guess you could say. But yeah, that was pretty much my high school choral and college choral experiences really helped me to develop the inner ear that you need in order to really be able to listen to kids, understanding parts, being able to harmonize, which all goes into becoming a good singer.
Is singing a talent, a skill, or both, and why?
It is a little bit of both. And I say that because some people are naturally gifted to be able to sing. You can just tell them, "Can you sing the song?" and they can just sing it at the drop of a dime. For others, it's a skill that has to be developed over a period of time. Usually, when you start at the younger level, your voice is going to be very, very immature, very kid like. Once you start getting into middle school, that's when the boys' voices start changing. You hear all the cracking going on, which I could not be a middle school teacher because I couldn't deal with that. And then when you get to high school, the voice really starts to become a little bit more mature. And then if you want to pursue it in college, which I did, then you start to learn the fine tuningness of what it truly means to become a bel canto or a really beautiful singer. Training in the operatic style, learning the different languages that you have to be able to sing in. So there are skills that are required in order to become a good singer, but there are some people who are just naturally good singers and they don't necessarily need any training at all whatsoever. But so that's why it's a little bit of both.
How do you find inspiration to get through a difficult work or a tough deadline?
I try really well, I can't say that. I'm only lie if I say I don't focus on it because I do. I often rack my brain around it a lot, trying to figure out what's the best alternative, best pathway to truly get my kids learning the pieces, um, understanding their strengths and weaknesses within the piece, and really trying to tackle those head on when I know of them. Um, there are certain situations that are beyond my control, especially when it comes to timing of learning particular pieces. Sometimes pieces take a day. Sometimes pieces take a month, depending on the complexities that are found within the particular piece of music. But you just try to find that balance, and once you find that balance, things tend to naturally just come together. Even in performances, they always say the old saying that you have a bad rehearsal, you're going to have a good performance. But if you have a good rehearsal, you're going to have a bad performance. And I have found that to be true in almost every single instance that I've had. with the choral program here. So I try to purposely kind of have some drama going on before the actual performance starts, so that way when the concert actually happens, they're gotten all the drama out, and we can focus on the audience, and truly their performance really shines, and I get to see and treasure those moments with the kids.
What advice would you give to someone thinking about getting started in music or a career in teaching it?
Make sure that is absolutely something that you want to do, because being a music person, you really have to, one, love all types of music. It can't just necessarily be one specific type, unless that is your area of expertise that you solely want to focus on. But to be a music teacher, you really have to know a wide variety of your history, your oral skills, your sight reading skills, knowing how to harmonize, being able to play the piano if you can, or have enough good singing voice enough to be able to sing the stuff back to your singers so they can hear it properly. So I would say my best advice again is just to make sure you love music and are willing to do what it takes to go the extra mile in making sure that you are overly prepared.
What is the most rewarding aspect of your job?
Most rewarding aspect is seeing those light bulb moments in my kids' faces when they get a passage of music right, or when we try and sing it together in four parts and all the parts sound just fantastic the very first time. And of course, the concerts are always the highlight to my career, and seeing all the hard work that we have put in into class finally pay off on stage, and getting the good feedback from the parents and their friends and family after the show to let them know they did a great job. You worked really, really hard, Mr. Dunbar. I'm like, yes, I know. If you seen all the hard work that I truly had to do, you'd be a little bit more appreciative. But I appreciate, your kind comments, and it makes me feel good for the kids that they've worked so hard and they finally have achieved.
How do you react when you receive a negative comment or review about a program or piece?
Often I really don't react, to be honest with you. Negativity is going to come at every hand. You're going to have your haters, and that's just part of life. And in realizing that, you can take those comments one or two ways. You can internalize it and try and beat yourself up all about it, or you can hear it and just try to make yourself grow and become better. And that's exactly what I try to do.
Thank you for being on the show. Up next, we'll learn about the amazing adventures of portraying someone else. One thing everyone always says, and I quote, is put yourself in someone else's shoes. Well, let's learn about what it takes to put yourself in someone else's shoes and be them. Here now is Lancaster High School's drama teacher, Sharice Witherspoon. Welcome to the show. What is the best part about your job?
Oh, there are so many things, but it is that moment where what it is that you're teaching your students actually crosses the threshold for them and they get it, and you can see that they get it in their faces. Um, and then it transfers from just seeing it on their faces to them being engaged in conversation, asking questions, um, driving the learning at that point. That is actually one of the most fulfilling things you can have.
When did you decide you wanted to start teaching?
It was about probably second semester of my senior year of high school. I had a bad experience with a teacher that year, and I don't know, I never wanted to be a teacher before that, but something happened that made me decide that I wanted to be the kind of teacher that I did not have in that at that time, and that students deserve to have someone who truly, truly cared about their success. That experience with that teacher actually was so horrendous that I think that is the thing that inspired me to become a teacher. And then, of course, we all are inspired by those teachers who are wonderful, but that one bad experience um, was so poignant that I decided that no other student should experience what I did.
What is the hardest part about teaching first class drama students?
Creating that level of buy-in, that level of not making excuses as to why you cannot perform, not using the fact that you have stage fright, not understanding that everybody has stage fright, so that's not a good excuse to not participate, and that it is truly a participatory class, and everybody's experience depends on each person being a participant. This is not one of those classes where you can actually have a enjoyable experience if everyone is not engaged and participating.
Do you have any activities you use to get students more committed and out of their shells?
So what we do, our first chapter is improvisation, and so we do improvisation consistently every day of that first grading period. Even the first day of school, like I don't even allow them to have any downtime or any seat work outside of doing improv every day. So they know coming in that they will be doing improvisation from the very first day.
Is acting a talent, a skill, or both, and why?
I think it is a combination of both. It is one of those things that you can actually teach someone how to act, but they also have to have the innate ability to allow those skills to transfer and become authentic to themselves. And sometimes you have to guide a person. There are people who are just naturally talented, but you still have to guide them to be able to figure out when and how to use some of those skills that they are naturally talented to do. That's just like someone who sings. Even though you're naturally talented to sing, there's still someone who has to help you shape and mold that talent to grow you to be able to capture the audience's attention from the very first note that comes out of your mouth. So it is the same as an actor or an actress. You have to be taught how to get that audience's attention with the very first movement or the very first word that they see and hear on stage.
When you're dealing with new students, how do you teach them different aspects of emotions?
So what I do is I ask them to think about times when they were happy, times when they were sad, times when they were excited. And I ask them to vividly imagine that moment and just describe to me what that moment was. And when they begin to go into that description, they immediately awaken what they felt. And then I tell them to feel it and to use it, and then to remember it, because they may have to draw from that in a particular scene or for a particular character that they have to play. And we call that emotional memory. We actually teach you to use that as your toolbox. Emotional memory is your toolbox for different characters and parts that you play.
No. What advice would you give to a person who wants a career in acting?
Make sure it is something that you thoroughly enjoy, that you would do it even if you didn't get paid to do it, and that you have a plan, because it is not easy to be successful as an actor or an actress and make money. It is easy to be successful. You can have wonderful moments. You can have wonderful periods of time. But if this is something that you want to have as a career and make money doing, you have to be prepared to endure sometimes years of not making money in acting to hone your skills, so that when you have that discovery happen, when someone sees you and says, I have to have this person in my show, or I have to have this person in my film, that you are prepared to handle whatever role that comes.
Thank you for being on the show. Well, that's all we have left for today's show. If you have any questions or concerns for our show, feel free to contact learn.tv at lcsd.k12.sc.us or check out our YouTube channel. Just search Learn TV, Lancaster. I'm Kimaya Clark, and we'll see you next time on Teach Me.